my ship. That's how it got to be two kings and two princes.
Name the two kings and name the two princes.
David Barksdale and Larry Hoover combined makes up the king of the Black Gangster Disciples. Tennessee and a brother named Old Timer was their prince.
Someone tell Kanye and Kim to just stick to the script and just tell them to free Larry Hoover.
I think I'm Big Meech. Larry Hoover. Whipping work.
So, yeah, let me ask you, yeah. This record came out with Rick Ross, and he says Larry Hoover. What was your thoughts on that? Because you from the side. So when you heard this record, did you take it as disrespect, or how did you take it?
Yeah, I took it as respect. What's your feelings on?
Well, you know, I like the fact that he kept the name alive and put him into the limelight, but I always had a problem that he said his name and then said whipping work. You know what I mean? And he's fighting for his life. So I wouldn't want him to speak on him about whipping work and him and drugs. His federal case that he's dealing with right now is a drug case.
So it's very important to get Hoover out, because in an alternate universe, I am him.
Muted the federal sentence of Larry Hoover, founder of the Chicago street gang, the Gangster Disciples.
Family, in this video, we dive into the compelling story of Larry Hoover, a man whose life and legacy have sparked decades of debate and activism. I plan on exploring who Larry Hoover is, his roots in Chicago's South Side, and his rise of his organization, the Gangster Disciples, also known as the GDs. The focus on this video will be on understanding the circumstances that led to his arrest, the changes he faced, and why his case remained a significant point of discussion and fight for justice. Now, I want to be clear from the start. I'm not here to judge whether Larry Hoover was a good man or not. That's for each of you to decide. My role is to present the facts, examine the structure of his alleged gangs, and explain how his journey, which initially aimed for community improvement, unfortunately landed him 4 life sentences. Throughout this video, we also gonna highlight the sacrifices made by Hoover's family, and also by influential people like J. Prince Jr., Kanye West, and even Drake, and the countless advocates who have tirelessly worked to shed light on what they believe is an unjust imprisonment. We'll examine the story from multiple angles without giving a name, and those angles are societal, legal, and personal, to give a comprehensive view of why many see Hoover's incarceration as more than just a criminal case, but a symbol of systematic issues that need addressing. Finally, we'll discuss the current efforts to seek justice for Larry Hoover, which leads us to why we're making this story today. Our current president, Donald Trump, has recently pardoned Larry Hoover within the last 24 hours. Also, he pardoned a well-known rapper from Louisiana, NBA Youngboy. So before we go over this, I want you guys to remember, I won't give you no angle. I just give you the story. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll jump right to it. Larry Hoover was born in 1950 in Chicago's South Side, an area plagued by poverty, violence, and systematic neglect. Growing up amidst these hardships, Hoover became involved in the street life at a very young age, eventually founding the Gangster Disciples in the late 1970s. Originally, Hoover envisioned the organization as a community force group aimed at protecting residents from violence and providing social services, a stark contrast to how many outsiders later perceived it.
In 1969, we combined forces and we established 2 kings and 2 princes. I was very instrumental in the disciples and the gangsters coming together. When I went to jail in 1968 for failure to register a gun and unlawful use of a weapon, I met David Barksdale while I was in the House of Correction. We was at odds when we first met. After a while, he began to love me and I began to love him as my brother. When I came out of jail in '69, Hoover was the ambassador of the Stones. We had a nation meeting of the gangsters, and I said I wasn't gonna be no Stone. That night, Hoover called Jeff Ford and told him that he could no longer be a Stone or ambassador of the Stones.
Wait a minute. Who called who now? Say that again.
Hoover called Jeff Ford.
Right.
And told him that he could no longer be affiliated with the Stones. And I believe he did that out of his love for me. The next day, Jeff came to 680 Green and wanted to try to straighten it out. We wouldn't hear of it. So he left with a little anger. About 6 months later, 6 or 7 months later, with me talking to Larry and me also keeping in contact with David, I had a chance to bring them together. And we sat and we decided that it would be an equal partnership. That's how it got to be 2 kings and 2 princes.
Name the 2 kings and name the 2 princes.
David Boxdale and Larry Hoover combined makes up the king of the Black Gangster Disciples. Tennessee and a brother named Old Timer was their prince, their second in charge.
His organization adopted a code of conduct, emphasizing discipline and respect, but it also became entangled in Chicago's violent drug wars. The Gangster Disciples grew rapidly, attracting both supporters and enemies. Hoover's leadership was seen as both a protector and a threat, depending on who you asked. Over the years, Hoover's name became synonymous with power, influence, and controversy. It was rumored that Larry Hoover would take taxes from anyone who sold narcotics on his territory. You had to pay. It was alleged that the money was for lawyers, firearms, protection, to pay rent, and things that helped the community. And the violence would increase when trying to take over more territory to receive more money for their narcotics. They had a distinct handshake. When someone else would claim their gain, depending on how they did their handshake, they would know if they was lying on that. But everything came crashing down for Larry Hoover in the late 1970s. Hoover's organization faced intense law enforcement scrutiny. In 1979, Hoover was arrested and charged with multiple crimes, including federal racketeering. The government painted him as a criminal mastermind behind violence and drug trafficking, leading to a series of convictions. Hoover was sentenced to multiple life terms, and his incarceration was seen by many as a blow to efforts at community reform.
Police as the leader of the state's largest and most dangerous street gang. Joni Lum is here with the latest on today's raid. Joni?
Sonia and Dave, authorities believe Larry Hoover is running an enormous gang operation from inside the Dixon Correctional Center where he is housed. Chicago, Illinois, and IRS agents carried out a federal warrant at the offices of Save the Children Promotions, looking for evidence of income tax evasion and money laundering. The 44-year-old acknowledged leader of the Black Gangster Disciples has been in prison since 1973 for a drug-related murder. At several parole hearings, he's claimed he's a changed man who is no longer violent. Today, police spent about 2 hours combing through the records of Save the Children on the South Side. They seized half a dozen cardboard boxes and file cabinets of financial records and also $7,000 in cash. Police say the charity organization has legitimate operations, but they also believe it is a front for an effort to get Hoover out of jail. Police believe that Hoover has been running drug trafficking in the city of Chicago.
Argued that Hoover's convictions were politically motivated and that he was made the scapegoat for Chicago's violent streets. Critics, however, maintained that Hoover's organization was deeply involved in illegal activities. Over the years, Hoover's case has become a symbol of systematic issues, questions about justice, corruption, and the criminal justice system's treatment of Black leaders. Throughout the years, many figures stepped forward to advocate for Hoover's release. One of the most prominent supporters was rapper and activist Kanye West, who publicly called for clemency and highlighted the injustice of Hoover's lengthy imprisonment. Other influential voices like Drake and Jay Prince have also spoken out, emphasizing the importance of second chances.
It was mind-blowing, you know what I mean? Because not only was he up on that, his thinking ability, you know, impressed me. And a lot of people thinking ability don't impress me. So, you know, we was able to have conversations that went so deep until I'm like, we got to share this with the world. You know, we can't keep this to ourselves. And that's how that intro came about. You know what I mean? Because I want to expose, you know, the lies of, you know, how people was trying to paint this picture of Larry Hoover. I want to expose the intellect, you know what I mean, that I had tapped into. And, you know, we done that, man. We done that against the threats of all of them people calling me, if you do this, we gonna, I wouldn't try.
During Trump's first term as the United States president, Kanye West was invited to the White House, and he spoke on telling Trump to free Larry Hoover.
It's because he started doing positive for the community. He started showing that he actually had power, that he wasn't just one of a monolithic voice, but he could wrap people around. So there's theories that there's infinite amounts of universe and there's alternate universe. So it's very important for me to get Hoover out, because in an alternate universe, I am him. And I have to go and get him free, because he was doing positive inside of Chicago, just like how I'm moving back to Chicago. And it's not just about, getting on stage and being an entertainer and having a monolithic voice that's forced to be a specific party. People expect that if you're Black, you have to be Democrat. I've had conversations that basically said that welfare is the reason why a lot of Black people end up being Democrat. They say, first of all, it's a limit to amount of jobs. So the fathers lose the jobs, and they say, we'll give you more money for having more kids in your home. And then we got rid of the mental health institutes in the 80s and the 90s, and the prison rates just shot up. And now you have Chirac, what people call Chirac, which is actually our murder rate is going down by 20% every year. I just talked to the superintendent, met with Michael Sachs, that's Rom's right-hand man. So I think it's the bravery that helps you beat this game called life. They tried to scare me to not wear this hat, my own friends, but this hat, it gives me power in a way. My dad and my mom separated, so I didn't have a lot of male energy in my home. And also, I'm married to a family that, not a lot of male energy going on. It's beautiful though, but there's times where, it's something about, I love Hillary, I love everyone, right? But the campaign I'm with her just didn't make me feel as a guy that didn't get to see my dad all the time, like a guy that could play catch with his son. It was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman, that's my favorite superhero. And you made a Superman cape for me also, as a guy that looks up to you, looks up to Rap Lauren, looks up to American industry guys, non-political, no bullshit, put the beep on it, however you want to do it, 5 seconds delay, and just goes in and gets it done. Right now, you gave me the heart to go to Adidas, because at Adidas, when I went in 2015, we were a $14 billion company, losing $2 billion a year. Now we have a $38 billion market cap. It's called the Yeezy effect.
Kanye doubled down and did a free Larry Hoover concert to help with attorney fees alongside Drake in 2021, located in LA.
The thousands of others who are locked behind prison bars, serving unjust prison sentences. Sometimes what you read about and what you hear about is not the full story. The full story is Larry Hoover was a young man who made a mistake, but that mistake should not define who he is as a 71-year-old man. We must remember Larry Hoover tonight. When one person goes to prison, their entire family goes with them. Their communities go with them. Their entire life is caught up in a system that does not recognize a redeemed life. So I'm asking you tonight, I'm pleading with you tonight to remember Larry Hoover, to take out of your mind everything that you may have read.
And during that time, Kanye West also had a press run. He decided to take Larry Hoover Jr. with him, expressing their efforts on trying to free Larry Hoover. Check out what Larry Hoover Jr. had to say while on the Drink Champs in 2021.
It's a positive thing. It's still open.
He
so
has a chance to make it out because of the first step. He has a chance. Explain more to him.
Yeah, so that's why we building the team. When we go back, we want to have a stronger, just a stronger case for what we bring to them. So we
How long has he been locked up?
Said over 40 years.
47 years. My mother was pregnant with me when he went to jail. I've been going to jail my whole life. Never been arrested.
Insanity, man.
When I was a kid, I used to get money from behind the toilet because he'd go in the bath. Well, that's how they made it look. He'd take me in the bathroom, get some money behind the toilet, give me $5. Come out, I was happy to see him because I know I would get $5, you know?
And,
wow.
All right, I just want to ask. Probably not even, what is, I'm not even qualified to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So at one point, was he the leader of this notorious gang? Because I know, but I don't really know.
I mean, there's no way around that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Okay. It is what it is. It grew, it started from somewhere.
Right.
And, you know, as he got older, his understanding grew. And seeing young men coming to jail, right. You know, he started doing other things. He, you know, right. Did things like you had to go to school if you was in there.
Right.
You know, when you came out, you were supposed to each one teach one in your community with, you know what I mean, different things. It was a thing called growth and development. It was a book. Right. They act like it was a negative thing, but
same way like they say the Crips started out as a positive,
right.
Positive. Yeah.
But it was a guideline from becoming, from being an outcast to society to becoming a part of society, and trying to have economical and political and just building our own community back up, you know. But they said it was a gang book.
Right. So what made you want to be involved?
Having economic and political freedom. Well, I was involved because all my niggas is GD. Right. We just all folks, and that's how we like grew up and like. But
and what's the opposite? It's GDs and disciples. That's the opposite gang.
The opposite is Vivendi.
Did he just say Vivendi? Is that the people who own University?
Yes.
Jeez,
we not in the opposite gang at all. GDs and BDs, and we all the same. We all on these blocks that we don't own, and we don't have any political say-so. And without political say-so, you cannot move your people forward. They can put whatever they want in the schools. They can put whatever they want in the food. They can put whatever they want in music. They can put whatever. Go ahead. What is it?
Yeah, but like he's saying, like my father used to bring, everybody together.
Wow.
You know what I mean? In peace to deal with situations in the community. Everybody. So all the different organizations.
And it's those,
you know what I mean? And it's a lot of different ones. Anyone you name.
It seemed like Chicago got worse without the OGs in the building.
Definitely.
When I would go, I went to prison with my wife and with Common, and they had everyone on the yard. Then we went into what they call it, the high security. What's the name of the where it's like
the whole, pretty much the boxes.
What was the more intense level?
You the hole?
No, but it wasn't a hole. It was just like glass like this.
Okay.
High security place. And I looked. Andre 3000, Kendrick, me, RZA. It was all the versions of us that it didn't work.
That's crazy.
I was looking at it, I was like,
that's crazy.
There's not too many styles of video game characters in this video game. It's like, I think it's like 8 archetypes or something. Right. It's like you get the same character. Why is it, this is not to detract from this, but why is it always a star quarterback and all this GTA, this simulation? You know, but God, you know, victory favors the brave. God love this. God say, we want Hoover home, use what you got. You know what I'm saying? Let's get the lawyer. And let me tell you what lawyer is. Just since we hit all red buttons, we got the lawyer that just got Cosby out.
Let me relax. But he got Cosby out?
Yeah. I ain't got the paperwork yet. So I'm gonna come on this joint and try to save my family and keep my family together and try to save his family, my extended family, and pull our family together.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I know this your show and you come to give the flowers to Ye, but I want to give all y'all flowers for, you know what I mean, allowing me the platform to put this message out here. You know, it's been a long time. I've been fighting for a long time, and it just needs to go as far as it possibly can. So,
is there anything else that people could do to help?
Yeah.
well,
What's
at this
going
point
on?
right now, you can just keep checking the Larry Hoover Project on Instagram.
Okay.
And that's where the information will start. It'll be passed out on what we're doing. We need maybe a petition or whatever it is we may need to do. You know what I mean?
Because you got to think of, sorry, but 47 years is kind of like a life sentence.
That is a life sentence.
It is
Like
life
he
sentence.
already served
His
life.
children
Like,
are grown. He
deserves
got
to be home.
grandkids. That's a life
Like, that's
sentence.
real talk.
I mean, the people on his case, the same exact case,
Right.
filed the same paperwork home.
Many believe Hoover's case is emblematic of broader issues: the criminalization of Black leaders and the need for reform in justice system. Advocates argue that Hoover's incarceration has done more harm than good, and that his release could be a step toward healing communities that's impacted by violence. Fast forward almost 5 decades since Larry Hoover's first incarceration, in a historic turn, May 28, 2025, within the last 24 hours of me doing this video, President Donald Trump granted a pardon to Larry Hoover, along with the notable rapper NBA Youngboy. This unexpected move has reignited conversations around justice, redemption, and the power of presidential clemency. Social media has been flooded with reactions from influencers, celebrities, and ordinary supporters.
Muted the federal sentence of Larry Hoover, founder of the Chicago street gang, the Gangster Disciples. Hoover has been serving multiple life sentences and in a maximum security prison in Colorado for the murder of a 19-year-old neighborhood drug dealer. He is also serving a 200-year sentence in Illinois, but it's not clear if he'll be moved back to Illinois to reserve what remains of that sentence. Hoover's son, Larry Hoover Jr., posted this photo on Instagram, a White House official holding the commutation with the president's signature. Much more on this breaking news story coming up at 5 and 6 o'clock.
Now, Jay Prince also went to Instagram to voice his gratitude for Donald Trump alongside Kanye West, as he also thanked Drake for his support. Now, this recent pardon marks a new chapter in Hoover's story. A question remains: will this lead to his full release? Or what does it say about the justice system and the power of influence? As the world watches, one thing is clear: Hoover's story has become a symbol of both struggle and hope for many. Whether you see him as a villain or a victim, the conversation about justice, redemption, and systematic reform continues. Fam, let me know how you guys feel about this one in the comments.